Hi, I'm Kiwi.
And I'm Jarad.
And we are the two gentlemen. Come to you from the Cave of Wonders.
It is wondrous. It's full of wonderful stuff.
Jarad, how are you?
Good. I do feel like the walls are closing in on me a little bit, but you know, we're good. I've actually now moved to outside the structure, like I'm half outside. So yeah, there's been some good finds.
So if you can't tell, we're sitting where it all began, actually, in my garage, which is now a cave of wonders. It's filled with all sorts of stuff that my son and my wife have found on the side of the road. So Jarad is feeling a little bit claustrophobic, I think.
I do have that fear, actually. Not particularly about this, but yeah, I do have the claustrophobic fear, and yeah, there's quite a wondrous amount of stuff here. It's very eclectic.
Well, you've got to pay your rent somehow, Jarad.
Yes. I don't know what a few of these things are, but yeah, sure.
How have you been, mate?
Good, mate. I've just been living the dream, like all of us, and just been plotting as you do, but not plotting about anything really, but trying to save the world one day at a time. What about yourself?
Same intentions as you, trying to save the world. No, I'm just living my life. I've been really good, really healthy, really happy. Family's great, so can't ask for more than that. Having said that, I live in a bubble. I've just realised that recently. I surround myself with really good people.
Yep.
I have a very meaningful job where I get to help people every single day that I'm at work. I love my family.
Yeah, sounds good.
I have great friends. But I know that the world isn't always like this, is it, Jarad?
No. I definitely did. I had something happen to me too. I had that sort of realization that, I don't know, I was listening to the radio and whoever was on, I wasn't really paying attention, but somebody from the show, producer or somebody, got on and did a little segment about, conspiracy theories and things that are going on in the world, and behind, how this stuff that's going to happen globally, and the world, is going to become, this terrible place and whatever. I don't even know what but I finished listening to that, and it made me really, I don't know, I was really depressed. I think I've come to the conclusion I'm that guy that just doesn't want to know. More about stuff that is happening that I can't change. Let's be honest here. We're talking about the global stuff that you can't really control. Things like, digital currencies and the world changing into that, where it's all managed and somebody knows everything, and you're getting, it was just all depressing stuff that we're all going to be regulated. It really, I don't know, I was driving and I got out of the car. I was like, oh, that really sucked. I don't know. And I think I just prefer to be that. I'd rather not worry about it or know about it. Nothing I can do about it. Is that healthy?
Look, I really like your honesty. I like that you're admitting that there's stuff out there that you'd rather not know. So essentially, ignorance is bliss. I can't disagree with you, sadly. Yeah. I wish I could argue with you and say, no, Jarad, fight the power. Stand up to the man.
Well, there's a lot of people that do, though.
I know.
Right? And I actually, I get it. But I also think, is this wrong of me? I'm thinking, well, are you wasting your time? I know you might feel like you're doing something. I suppose I have a different thought process to everybody. Everyone has different thought processes, and everyone has different thoughts of okay, well, I am making a difference, or maybe me thinking making a difference is stopping that happening. Well, that's not going to happen, but someone might be like, well, we're chipping away.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you do see why people speak out. Yeah, put their thoughts out there.
Obviously, there's great cost to that as well. Speaking out. You said a lot there, Jarad, and look, I think I'm just going to have to talk about something that I haven't really gone into. And, that whole joke about me becoming a loser and not becoming this big, financial success. There's a side of that I haven't talked about. When we were growing up in the early 2000s, I became really aware of the power of corporations. And that really put me off working for one, taking that corporate path, essentially becoming a slave.
Yeah.
Another thing was, the film The Matrix came out when we were 18. Oh. And there's a scene where Morpheus holds up a battery and he says, this is what the machines want to turn us into, a battery.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was yanked out of the Matrix at that point. I was like, whoa, like everything, from our education system, everything has basically tried to make us this perfect cog that fits into the machine.
Yeah.
In the metaphor they used was a battery, but you get my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the film Fight Club also came out when we were 18. And that also shaped me as well. And it got me thinking, I guess more, not like an anarchist, but it certainly opened my mind.
Yeah.
So those two films, plus the awareness of the power of corporations and the corruption of corporations, really set me on my path.
Yeah.
And it's something that I haven't gone into in this podcast. Mm. And you look at me 20-something years later, it's like, well, did you make the right choice? So you look at me now 20-something years later, and you could ask, well, did I make the right choice? Was there any point to it? I mean, corporations didn't go, oh, wait, there's this little guy that, his dreams crushed. Whoa, put the brakes on the system. Of course not. Yeah. But at least I became the person that I wanted to become.
Yeah.
Now, it came at, some cost because I didn't pursue a life of material gain. Now, you can find yourself in that same position now.
Yeah.
With this extra bit of knowledge that you've got, if you consider it that. And I don't think you are a conspiracy theorist. And if you are, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, information's information. We can all connect the dots however we choose to. What are you going to do with that, Jarad?
Look, you know what? And I think, let's be honest, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you come across things and needed to, you think, oh, well, I should do something about that, or I have a strong opinion about that. Well, for me, I tend to just, I don't know, like I've said to you in many episodes, I sleep on things, like I have to think about it.
Yeah.
And, there's no knee-jerk reaction for me. I think I even said, we're recording this episode now, and it's actually right where, at the same time my football team's playing. I think you said, oh, sorry, we can't. I said, well, to be honest, they're probably going to lose. So I didn't really want to watch it. And I think, am I just digging my head in the sand or living in the bubble? Like, it's not as bad if I don't watch it or don't know about it, And I think thinking about it, that's that's probably where the type of person I am. And in some respect, I like to think the good of people and all that sort of stuff. So maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
I don't like to. Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, but I don't know. Does it have it? I always worry, when you do get into a conversation with somebody that somebody or people that have that really strong sort of like, you must fight and you must fight the power, and I just worry about their health. Like, I think life can be stressful.
Yeah.
With your own things and your own, lack of better words, duties, and all of a sudden you're throwing in concerns about what the governments are doing and what, big companies are doing. And it's I don't think it's healthy. I think that's just my opinion, but I just don't think it's healthy. I think the less stress you have in your life, and this is just an added stress. And for me, I'm a fixer. I like to be able to fix things, and if there's a problem in front of me, I like to be able to try and solve it. But I suppose I don't get involved in problems I can't solve.
So this is beyond you, and rather than get too concerned with it, the best thing for your mental health is to step back. And you used the word bury your head in the sand, so I don't want to...
No, just, No, and when it gets repeated back to you, you think, oh, that make me a bit of a coward, or coward might be the wrong word, but somebody who doesn't like to face their fears, or maybe, I don't know, but it's definitely... There's definitely what you're not saying to say you're one or the other, but people have a preference, like there's people that will read up and fight and argue and all this about points that they've, learned about. But, I try not to, I suppose I don't learn about them.
Oh, Jarad, this episode has taken a different tone to all of our others. This is the closest we've been to being political, and it's quite interesting to hear this from you.
Well, I'm just sort of unpacking as I go. So it's I look, I could probably listen to this back and be like, oh, what did I say there? But look, to be fair, it's just a thought that came over, and it's all stemmed from that one listening to that radio show that made me depressed, and I'm like, why is this happening?
Look, this isn't an episode about conspiracy theories or conspiracy theorists, but I want to share something with you. I was actually at probably one of the last times I saw you before we got together for this podcast. We were at our friend's barbecue, and I was chatting to him about, the things that go on in the world. And it was at the time Eddie Obeid, the corrupt politician, was being tried and being pursued by ICAC. And I said, look, New South Wales is this tiny little player in the world. Yeah. Like, seriously, most people, if you said New South Wales, they would be like, Wales. Where's Wales? Yeah. No, not Wales. New South Wales. It's a state in Australia. We're nobodies, right? Really, in the whole scheme of things. And he went to jail for corruption. Could you imagine what people with actual power are doing? Yeah. This is one player from the Labor Party in New South Wales. Yeah. I mean, just extrapolate that. You think about what people are doing on a federal level and then on a global scale. People who have way more money than him, way more power, way more influence, can buy either side of politics, can pay for as many politicians as they want. So I was like, whoa, I don't think I want to know.
I'm currently looking for a bucket to put my head in. Like,
that's,
you start talking about that sort of stuff and you're like, oh man, like, where does it end?
Well, it doesn't. That's the thing. It ends at the top, Jarad. There's a top dog up there.
But that top dog is like no one that we think of. Like,
no, I'm kidding. I don't know if there's a top dog or anything like that. I sound like a crazy person. No, but my point is, there's always been a tussle for power, hasn't there? And there's always been someone somewhere trying to get something.
Yeah.
Right?
Always.
Whether it's your kids scheming about, how do we convince them to give us more lollies, or parents conniving to, how do we make the kids behave? Someone's manipulating something behind the scenes. Always.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why this couldn't happen on a scale that makes you and I uncomfortable. That's for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah. Oh, this is just depressing. But the question is, what do people like you and I do about this?
That's a question that I don't know if I'll have an answer to in my lifetime. Like, what do we do about it? I'm throwing it back to you. Do you have a thought? Because I honestly, like, my natural instinct is we've just discussed it. Is to like, well, what am I going to do?
You can vote with your feet. I think that's the best thing you can do.
I'm not a good runner, though.
You've got to consume the right things as much as possible. You know, when people ask me, about my diet, the term I'd like to use, but, people would call me a wanker if I used it, and not like I care that much, but it would just be annoying, is, I try to be an ethical eater. I try to be an ethical consumer. Yeah. When people say, oh, but if you do this, what about this? And totally. Man, I've got a footprint, just like anybody. I'm just trying to reduce mine. I never said I was a saint. I never said I was perfect. I wish I could just float around like an angel and leave nothing, not even a footprint behind. Yeah. But I'm not. I'm a human. I'm an animal. I trample things. But I'm just trying to trample less. That's all, by being aware of my actions. I think that's the best you can do.
That's a good way of putting it. I've got to trample something, but if I can trample less, that's great. It's really good. It's really refreshing to hear, actually. You don't sound like a wanker. It's all right.
Oh, thanks, Jarad. I appreciate it. I know all the listeners are going, oh, God, that guy again. I only listen for one of the gentlemen, and it's not that guy. But look, that's the best I can do, is to vote with my feet. It's to consume less animals, for example. And, my kids eat meat. They love it. Yeah. Erica eats meat. That's fine. I've got no issue with that. It's just about how do you do it in a way that, affects the planet less.
It's something you can do. It's something you can do and no one can take away from you. I suppose, and that's how we approach most things, I guess. And that's a real healthy way of approaching it. It's not putting stress on you. that's your decision to do that. Like, you're not doing that to show off. You're not getting on the rooftop, getting a podcast and telling that you ethically eat. No, but you weren't before this podcast.
But now I've got this soapbox.
Now I can stand on this soapbox. But it's, that's what you can do without putting extra stress in your life, I guess. And if you were to tell me that you are going to go out and show everybody that this is the right way to do things and approach it, and it consumes your life, I might have to say, as a friend, think about the processes and the style that you're going to do that, because what is that going to achieve other than heartache? Like going out there and pushing that agendas, but you know what I mean? But you're doing it as you. That's, and I think that's healthy. I don't really know. But the extra stress of trying to push that on other animals, I think would cause stress for you.
But there is cost in life, Jarad. That's the thing.
There is.
Look at the situation in Ukraine now. If you were Ukrainian, I imagine you would be there with a gun, defending your homeland.
Yep.
That's a cost.
Yeah.
You couldn't say, well, that's quite stressful, actually. I've got to think about my health. I think it's better if I just go and live, somewhere else and give the land over to the invading Russians. You'd be like, this is worth dying for.
Well, it's what you put down as a necessity of surviving and
you could survive somewhere else. You could survive.
Well, you could, yeah. It's not
quite well in Western Europe.
Yeah.
As a refugee, but I think we've all got a line in the sand, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, look at football, what it did to your body.
Yeah, true.
That was a tremendous toll. Think about all the concussions you've had, everything you've done.
I can't remember the concussion, so it doesn't. No.
But that was a huge cost.
Yeah.
And that was huge stress.
Yeah, and it still is, to the point where the rest of my life I'm going to have, issues. I might wake up sore for the rest of my life, or every now and then I'll dislocate my knee moving a lounge cushion.
But do you regret it?
No.
And it came with great cost, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
There you go. So we've all got that line in the sand, Joe. We've all got something that we're willing to give up part of ourselves for.
Yep. But then anyone asked me if I'm going to play football again. I was very close to the other day, actually, just quietly, but I didn't. And even now, like I was just talking to someone tonight, and he said, "Oh, are you playing?" I said, "No, I can't do this anymore." So there is a line that I've created, or it's been created now, that I'm like, I want to, but I'm crossing a line if I do.
Yeah.
And it's against my better judgment.
Yeah.
If I go out there and run around and, might be fine, but might not.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's... Wow.
I want to go back to something. One of our very good friends who's very successful. When I first became vegan, I remember her saying to me, "Oh, come on, Kiwi, join the winning team." And she's very successful in all her endeavours.
Yeah.
And but she's right. Like, you should join the winning team, which is why I am a loser. Because I've gone out on my own path and I've gone and done my own thing. And my family, we come across as total weirdos. I mean, look at our garage. Can you believe that a car ever fit in here?
I think there's trouble actually fitting a scooter in here.
Well, yeah.
Actually, a human.
Well, that's why you're halfway
that's why I'm
garage.
halfway out the garage.
There is tremendous cost to being yourself.
Yeah.
The whole institution, whether it's the government or just society in general, it's built around an average, isn't it? Culture just averages out the person, and you've just got to fit into that. All your bumps and all the odd parts of you that don't quite fit, too bad.
Yeah.
Fit it in.
Yeah. And it averages out.
And you think about maybe 50 years ago. Imagine being gay 50 years ago. Or even today. I mean, it's not easy everywhere, You still have to come out.
Yeah.
Really. That's a big deal. But, the society isn't built for that percentage of people. It's built for the majority. And, for people like me who don't fit in, well, there's a cost. You've got to kind of, stump up for the rest yourself.
Live with it.
Yeah. The best thing you can do is just be a heterosexual who goes to a church, belongs to a political party, the right political party. Right?
Which one's that?
I'm not allowed to put biases in people's heads. And of course, I'm being facetious here.
Yes.
And, go through a grad program, get a good job, and just keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
That's the best thing anyone can do. And you'll live a nice,
quietly,
peaceful life. Okay? And you'll be able to retire, hopefully. And if you don't get to retire because the government blew all your pension funds on something else, stay quiet and just keep doing whatever the government tells you to do. That's the best thing anyone can do in life. Or
I thought there was an or a but.
You can live fully and wholly as yourself, be in touch with all parts of yourself spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, artistically, and end up like me. In tracksuit pants, surrounded by trash. Okay, they're your options.
You have such a good argument. I mean, the end results are,
You've got to weigh up the pros and cons there, Jared.
Yeah, I can tell. Okay. I haven't got much to say on that. But no, you really,
I really sold my lifestyle.
You really did. Yeah.
But it's hard, man. Integrity has a cost. So I'm saying all this to you now, and I've lived this life. I'm 41 years old now. And I think about my kids doing the same thing as me. It would terrify me.
Yeah. I
would never encourage my kids to do what I've done. It's not easy,
man. They're going to find their own path, though, really.
Yeah, they do.
Like you've just said that whole time, this whole, that's all about your path and what makes you, in touch with everything. And if you're then forcing this, whatever you have chosen onto your kids, then that isn't their path. Simple. You can help them. You can say, and they might go, oh, you know what, that is I like that part of that path, but they got to find their own way.
They do. I just hope it's nothing like mine.
Nothing at all? Yeah. There's not even
what? I'd rather they just fall into the system. And I'm obviously, again, I'm kidding here, but as a parent, that's how you feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just want your kids to just
be happy.
Please don't get shot by the thought police. Just get through life and go through. Just keep a low profile. Keep your head down at school. Don't let anyone notice you.
Yeah. To a certain degree.
Yeah. And of course, this isn't how you actually execute, but I'm just talking about that part of you as a parent.
In general, you
that
just
gets afraid.
Yeah, don't put yourself too far because...
Yeah. But there is great cost.
There is cost to everything, you're right.
And you look at this, we're putting ourselves out there now, Jared. Think about the rejection that we get from the podcast.
Daily. Yeah. Look, there's probably a lot of people that yeah, that's right. We are putting ourselves out there quite a bit, and we're two very different people.
All right, so I'm going to dare ask you this, Jared. We've got an election coming up in 2 weeks and 1 day from time of recording.
Yep.
Do you think about that sort of stuff much? Being someone who's already just admitted to burying your head in the sand.
Good question. So if you ask me this, let's just say if you asked me this 4 years ago, I would have said I wouldn't even know what's happening. So as a back end of my 30s, a father, homeowner, I've got interests. I didn't care. I really didn't. And maybe let's say 4 years. It could have been 5, but whatever. It was a very recent history. Didn't care. For some reason, it's really started to kick in lately. The way that people are portrayed in the media, and the way that this is the first time I've actually paid attention to ads, that are happening, and I'm like, and I used to hear people carry on about it, and I'd be like, what are you worried about? They're just like, now I'm like, what a load of tripe these ads are. Like they're both just as bad, like they're just, and you think, and I don't know whether it's just I'm just getting old and grumpy, or, I feel like I've got more to lose or gain or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I've just suddenly, it's just piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Again, probably wrong of me. I probably should have been more aware of the country I'm living in and the state I'm living in. I should have cared a little bit more. But, for me, I just plod along and do my thing and don't really worry about it. I see them as figureheads anyway. I'm not voting for that person. I don't know. Like, I'm very fresh and very green when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
So, for me now, like I said, I'm just sort of getting a little bit, we'll use the word agitated, but you know what I mean? I'm getting a little bit sort of antsy about the ads and the way that people are perceiving people and just the lies. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's just my personal thought of like, why don't people lie? Why can't we all be nice? Everybody love each other, love everybody, you know? But yeah, it's, I have got an interest now.
Okay.
But,
can you tell all our listeners who they should be voting for, Joe?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, I hope they, hope they all do. I'm not going to tell them. I'm going to, I'm going to expect them to be. No. It's a funny subject though. It really gets people going.
Yeah.
And I'm not at that point yet. It doesn't get me going. It doesn't get me pumped up and get into fights or whatever about. But people get really, and I mean that's a byproduct of they might have had an experience and. A particular party they felt, did something wrong them or, wrong their family, or it could be generational. Well, not it could be, it is generational. Mm-hmm. It's class. Like, certain people vote certain ways because they live in certain areas, and it's pretty crazy. But like I said, I'm still learning.
All right.
That was really boring, wasn't it?
I'm looking forward to discussing this with you more. Look, I think our podcast is evolving a lot, and this is the first time we've really touched on politics. But look, it's inevitable that our show would head in this direction, I think. There's just so much going on in the world, and we're at, I wouldn't say a tipping point in civilization. That's just way too egotistical, because every single culture thinks that they're in the final days of humanity.
Yeah.
The end of days is coming. It happens to be my lifetime, by the way, because I'm so important. Every culture's believe that.
Yeah.
So no, we're not special. I'm not saying that at all, but we are certainly coming up against a lot of, I suppose, new ideas.
Yeah.
Things that really need to be discussed in a nuanced way.
Yeah.
I feel that my biggest gripe with politics is the tone of discussion, how it's all in bad faith.
Yeah.
I wish that people could just chat normally.
Yeah.
And actually try to hear each other.
And not just disagree.
Yeah, and even if you do disagree with one another, try to at least understand the other person and where they come from. But politics doesn't allow you to do that because the media doesn't allow you to do that. What ends up happening is they'll just take a sound bite. If you said, look, Kiwi, I agree with your point on that, they'll just take that bit and go, Jarad agrees with Kiwi. Why would you vote for him?
There's an ad out there, there's an ad out there now on the radio exactly like that, and it drives me insane because it was just so out of context, and they've just taken two grabs of this particular person saying something.
So what's worse, the fact that they do that, or the fact that they think people will fall for it, or the fact that people do fall for it? I don't know what's... it's like, geez, that's a lot of... spots where that kind of strategy
column
should
A,
fail.
Column B, column C. Like, it's just, all of that has a... Why should any of that, anyway, it's like I said, I'm still learning, but I'm getting agitated with certain things. And like I said, I don't know if it's age or, things, but, it's probably, I must say, I was comfortable in my little bubble just talking about our stuff.
Yeah.
But this episode's actually made me a little bit uncomfortable. So I don't know if it's going to come through on the episode. And I sort of sitting here a bit listening to Kiwi and like, what am I going to say here or what am I going to do here? But that's just being honest. I'm putting it all out there.
Yeah, good on you, Jarad.
But yeah, that's hopefully we put something decent.
I thought you were just uncomfortable because you're surrounded by junk.
Well, it's a little weird. But what's weird these days, mate?
Me. I'll always be weird, Jarad. I'll always be that weird little kid.
The vision I'm seeing, though, is you in the middle of it all, just smiling, talking to me. Like you're like the king of the castle in there, Like we talked about status in our last episode. I think it's just funny. We've sort of changed locations and this is where we are. I'm not a diva, though, mate. I'm happy to work here.
To all our listeners, I just wanted to say something that I've told my children, which is, I don't care what you do, I just care about the consciousness with which you do it. So whoever you decide to vote for is fine by me, that's your democratic right. But please just understand your vote, why you're voting, your own personal biases, who you're affecting, and be aware of yourself, that's all.
Yeah.
And from there, you go do whatever you want, I'll be happy with that decision.
Yeah.
And not like it matters if I'm happy with what you do. But you know what I mean. Yeah, you just be conscious, that's all. Make a conscious vote for the future of our country. It's really important.
Yep.
I love Australia. This is, to me, the best country in the world. You know, one of the best feelings is when you come back from overseas and you hear that Australian accent at the, you know, when you're getting off the plane, you're like, oh, I'm home.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah, let's have the country we deserve, hey? Anyway, with that, please make this the podcast that you deserve. So help us grow this little project of ours. Please like, subscribe, share it on all our socials, on all your socials, Twitter, Instagrams, Facebook, YouTube, podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that sort of stuff. Give us a shout out.
We're everywhere.
We are. Get in contact with us personally on our mobiles and our, what have you got, Telegram?
Yeah, carrier pigeon.
Yep, carrier pigeon, Morse code, anything you can. We love hearing from you. We do this for you. We do this to connect with all people around the world, really. Like Jarad said, why can't people just be nice? And we're trying to be two nice guys looking out for each other and looking out for all our friends, our family, and all our loved ones, and all of you, the listeners. So please support us because we love supporting you. Thanks, Jarad.
Thank you, mate. Take it easy.